I know you guys are just as eager as me to get some things buttoned up on this build and actually fire it up and let it idle and let it run. Yesterday, if you didn't watch the video, we knocked out the very first start. Oh shit. Oh shit. Come on, bitch. Let's go. Oh! On the all-wheel drive K24 Civic Type R. Before we jump into the project, I gotta let you guys know about the most banger fire Boston apparel drop we've ever done. And I just so happen to be wearing a new hat and a new tank. Check out this drop. The drop goes live this upcoming Wednesday, the 28th at noon PST. Don't miss out. First glance, taking a look at the car. Take a peek underneath. We got a fatty oil leak. I'm a little concerned. Let's see what's going on. A little bit hard to tell whether it's coming from the timing cover or the pan. They're both wet. So I'm gonna clean it up, and then when we fire it up again later, we can do some more digging in on that. But it's a fair amount of oil for one evening. As I was cleaning it up, I noticed that I forgot a bolt right behind that wire. It's probably leaking from there, and hopefully the RTV seal ain't busted right there. Alrighty boys, let's start knocking out a bunch of random things so we can actually get this thing fired up and hopefully idle it for more than half a second. First up, we have a massive leak on the intake in multiple different locations. As of right now, we have 2 bolts holding the intake manifold on with no gasket, so massive leak there. I know this thing's kind of just slapped together temporarily, but that's what today's all about. Couple wide open ports down here. We do need to plumb some stuff up. So one of those needs to go to the fuel pressure regulator. One is going to go to a boost gauge. One is going to go to the map sensor. We got a lot of things to sort out with the intake manifold, and then all the injector wiring too. It all looks not very clean. So I'm going to run through, pull off the wiring connectors, slap on some heat shrink, and run it underneath the intake manifold. And all the injector wiring, all that good stuff is completely finished up. Now the main problem that we had yesterday with trying to actually get this car started was the grounds. We were having some serious lackage of grounds, so we just slapped on some random wire yesterday to get fired up. I'm gonna run through, get some actual proper grounds installed on the car, hopefully in more hidden locations than across my dump tube and across the turb ski. Also, I have seen a lot of comments. I read you guys' comments. Of course, our fuel line chilling on the dump tube, that ain't legit. That's temporary. As you can see, we have tons of fuel line here. So this is gonna go to a 90 and it's gonna go way underneath. So don't worry, we'll get it sorted. I just need a new fitting. If you guys are like me and you're constantly in your garage working on cars, you know the hardest part is getting home and trying to get cleaned up. Every time I jump in the shower, I take a look at my knees and they are just filled with grease and dirt and grime. I have a little trick for you. My guys over at Manscaped came out with this body buffer. This little thing is gonna replace your loofah, or if you are a garage head, you may be even using a microfiber, which we all know that doesn't work that well. This is a handheld exfoliator brush designed to help remove dead hairs, bacteria, and reduce ingrown hairs. Also works very well, getting all the dirt and grime off from a hard day's work in the garage. Better yet, Manscaped came out with this buff bundle, which includes the exfoliator and 2 bottles of some very, very good smelling body wash. Smells expensive. So whether you're in need of a powerful body scrub or in need of a new body wash, this bundle has just what you need to achieve a polished look from head to toe. Their body wash is infused with aloe vera and sea salt to keep your skin feeling fresh, clean, and moisturized. Join me in ditching the microfiber and pick yourself up the buff bundle from Manscaped. Head on over to manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping when you use promo code DN20 at checkout. That's 20% off and free shipping with promo code DN20 at checkout. Stop being crusty and get yourself the buff bundle today. Let's get back to work. All right, let me show you guys what I do to ensure proper grounding of the drivetrain. We all know, well, you may know, the starter grounds through the engine, through the trans, to the chassis. If you don't have grounds from your drivetrain to the chassis, nothing's gonna work. So take your little voltmeter here, set it to the ohms position. And as you can see, when you have a good solid continuity, AKA if this and this are connected, you want it as close to 0 as possible. Connect these, it's at 0.001 or 0.00 if you put it on the right setting. Now, let's go ahead and see how much ohms are reading through our engine and the chassis, showing 1.4. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and add a few ground straps. You can get these on Amazon. It's just a little nice solid steel wire. I'm gonna throw probably two of these on, check it. If it needs more, we'll throw more on. I'm gonna put one on the passenger side, timing cover right to the stock ground location over here. We have a ground from the timing cover back to the frame rail, and then the transmission case back to the frame rail on this side. Goes without saying, make sure your grounds are free of paint and powder coat and all that stuff. Let's see what we're at. So you can just go check right off the starter base. 0.00. I think we're good. I'm going to crank it and see how fast it cranks. If you ever try to crank a car with no grounds, you know it cranks very slow. Next random task in preparation to actually drive this car, hopefully soon, is rewiring the IAT plug. So I believe 1 should be the signal and 2 is the sensor ground. So 2 is definitely ground. 1 signal, 2 is ground. So I need to pop this connector off, put this one on, because as you can see, she don't connect to our GM connector, or maybe it's a Haltech. It came with the Haltech, I believe. Alrighty, we got the IAT all rewired. Intercooler piping is gonna be BAM. This would be BAM. A lot of these other wires we don't need. So this one that says shift, that's for if you have a 6-speed, IAC and TPS, that would be for a drive-by cable. Fan, we're not gonna need that one. The little starter wire thing, we don't need that. So a lot of these we can lop off. Or maybe one day I'm gonna rebuild this whole entire K-Tune harness. I'll include the drive-by-wire harness in there and maybe some other stuff as well. Coolant temp or coolant pressure, possibly. We'll see. But for now, let's move on. I do what I do best and my microphone died, so I apologize for the audio. But up next is our EBCS. This is a Mac 3 port. There's 2 wires and there's 3 ports. So port number 1 goes to the turbo. Port number 2 goes to side port on wastegate. Port 3 is just a vent. And then the 2 wires, one is going to be an AVI output on the ECU. So if we come over to our laptop, did I say AVI? I meant DPO. So we have 3 DPOs open, DPO 1, 2, and 4. 3 we're currently using for the AC compressor. And then the other wire is a switched 12 volt. Polarity doesn't matter, so green can either go to the switched 12 volt or black can go to the switched 12 volt. This guy is gonna be mounted up on the shock tower over here, near the turbo and wastegate. And then this harness is gonna run into the interior and plug into the ECU. All right guys, quick little update. Went ahead, set the camera down, just did a shit ton of wiring. So in total we got, let's see, IAT wired, flex fuel wired, EBCS wired, oil pressure, boost, and maybe some others. It took a while, but all that sorted out. Next thing I'm gonna work on is, and this isn't necessary to like actually start and go drive the car, but of course you guys see the wide open ports on our valve cover here. I'm gonna go ahead and get our catch can installed. So I just picked up a cheap little catch can from PLM. Should do the trick. I think it's a 4 or maybe a 5 port catch can. And it actually looks pretty decent for the price. Like I said, it was cheap. So here's the can itself. It is a 4 port can. So it's all -10. We have 2 ports on the valve cover up front. There's 2 ports on the back, 1 on the side. I don't see, and comment below if you think otherwise, but I don't see a point or necessity in running all 5 ports. That's very, very excessive. We're gonna jack the 2 up front, the 1 on the side, and then we have the crankcase vent as well, which comes off the water pump housing. If you look way back there, that little elbow right there, it's a dash 10 elbow. And I think since I'm gonna one day make this engine bay very, very nice and clean, I'll probably tub the fenders and whatnot. There was only a few options as to where to mount this. Initially it was gonna go right up here. Very tight fit though. And then I found this little spot. Check this out. Wide open. Bam. I don't see why that would not work perfectly right there. We could go ahead and throw some little riv nuts in our cross member little motor mount bar up front. This guy will be bolted right there. And then all 4 ports can be plumbed, routed nicely, and it'll be kind of hidden and out of the way. What do you guys think? Let's run it. The first thing I'm gonna do is build the brackets to mount this guy on that bar. So I'm gonna weld 2 strips of aluminum right there. It's gonna slip over the bar and then bolts will go through. Unfortunately, we are gonna mess up the powder coat on this guy, but that can be redone. Yep, aluminum is still hard for me to weld, but look at that. We got her welded up. My welds are shitty. You can see the powder coat was like burning and melt. I should have just stripped this thing completely before I even attempted, but the weld is on. It's good. It's nice and sturdy, and it's gonna sit just like that. So we need to pop some holes through that cross member and through the catch can brackets that we just installed, slap some bolts on, and then we can move on to plumbing. Number 1, done. Number 2, done. Number 3, done. Number 4, almost done, but I'm missing a 90 for the can. I am gonna order up some of these guys right here. These things are the best if you ever run AN lines. And I should have ordered them sooner, but these little clamps cleans everything up nice and tidy, and then catch can setup will be complete. I like where it's located, nice and kind of hidden out of the way. Doesn't clutter up the bay. Our hoses are a bit ridiculous looking right now, but as soon as we get those clamps in, she'll look titties. Let's go ahead and toss in some gear oil. So I'm gonna fill it, if I can get this clip off. I'm gonna pull that sensor off, put a funnel in there. And the gear oil that we're gonna be running is what everyone was recommending to me, the AC Delco Synchro Mesh 7580. All right, we got a bunch of random stuff fixed on the car. Intercooler is still not here, so of course you still have a massive leak on the throttle body because it's just wide open. But I'm gonna go fire the car up again. I'm hoping that it's not gonna rev to 10,000 RPM or whatever. It's not revving to 10, but hopefully it just fires up and idles. For some reason, our fuel pumps are not turning on, so let me diagnose what's going on there, and I'll report back with a start. I suppose if our ECU was plugged in, that'd probably help us fire up the car a little bit easier. She fires up and revs to about 4K and just chills there. So I think we just simply put out rather just wait before we actually run the car until we get like the whole intercooler piping, all that good stuff on the car. I was going to move on to the exhaust, but we really need a couple more little pieces to completely finish it up. The tips did come in, but I need another V-band, some more hangers and whatnot. That's how the tips are going to look. OEM, but a little bit bigger. Should look nice. So the rest of the day, I'm gonna just completely finish up as much as I can. I'm going through right now and attaching the fuel lines to the body of the car. So as you can see before, floppy. That one, nice and tight. So I'm tapping the floorboard with an M4 by 0.7 tap, and then attaching this right to the floorboard, making it a nice, clean, secure fit. So one thing I completely missed on when designing and building the fuel cells is some vents. Of course, this guy has a vent, but this one does not. So in order for fuel to go in and come back out of the cell through our transfer tube in the back, this guy does need a vent as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop it out. This little guy right to the top. Things we do for cars. So this vent that we just installed is gonna run all the way up and it wires in to that vent right there, which goes to that tank. So now both tanks are vented and we should have no more issues. Set the camera down for a few hours again and got right back to work. I had to redo the drive shaft tube. I kind of knew when I was building the exhaust that this thing was going to be completely in the way. So that front bar, that front brace, that ran way forward, right in the way of the exhaust. So now I rebuilt it. It still has 4 mounting locations and it is super beefy. I already threw it up on there. But yeah, now it's not in the way of the exhaust. Good Lord. I'm gonna slap it up on the car and I'll show you guys how beefy it is. Oh yeah, that is not going anywhere. It's a little, I would say it's much more clean looking now instead of the brace that runs all the way to here. And it'd be a good spot for a little exhaust hanger when we're all said and done. As you can see, plenty of clearance for the exhaust. I can flop it around, no rattle. Until we can get a couple more parts in the mail, at least like the intercooler, some couplers that we need, stuff to finish up the exhaust, the build is kind of at a standstill, which sucks. I hate not being able to make progress on the main project, but it is what it is. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up today's video right here. Drop a comment down below and let me know what you guys think of the glorious, at least in my opinion, the glorious catch can placement. Hope you enjoyed. Peace out, my homies, and I'll see you boys in the next episode.